Our twisted fairy tale begins with a narrated animation. While wandering in the 100-acre wood, the boy called Christopher Robin came across hybrid abominations that called themselves Owl, Rabbit, Eeyore, Piglet, and Winnie-the-Pooh. Christopher Robin fed them, accidentally forcing them to become dependent on him. And when he grew up and left to become a doctor, they starved. When the worst of winter came and hunger gnawed at their bones, they betrayed Eeyore, killing him and consuming his flesh. Now feral with madness, they swore never to speak human language again and turned their hatred towards Christopher Robin and the rest of humanity for abandoning them. Years later, grown-up Christopher Robin brings his fiancée Mary to visit the 100-acre wood. He wants her to meet the lovable creatures he called friends when he was a kid, but he's disappointed when she uses her kindergarten voice to reassure him that she still loves his imagination, even though he probably made Winnie and the gang up. He guides her deeper and deeper into the woods. When he hears the hoot of an owl, he rushes headlong into an ominous tunnel formed out of dead trees. At the end, they enter a hillbilly encampment.
Look, you're not in any danger, okay? I know them.
There's blood on the honey pots and glass everywhere, dude. Despite Mary's rising discomfort and the still smoking campfire that suggests someone is nearby, Chris breaks into Pooh's treehouse. They discover a picture of Chris and his face scratched out. Not a great sign. Heavy footsteps send them into hiding as the nightmare known as Pooh lays down for a nap. They hide until well past nightfall. They failed their stealth mission immediately. Animal sounds surround them, and Mary alerts the entire camp to their presence before Piglet wraps a length of heavy chain around her throat and begins to crush it from behind. Chris goes for Piglet, but gets tossed aside like a toy.
Please, Mary! Piglet!
Chris watches Piglet half decapitates Mary. He runs for the tree tunnel to sob like the useless little she is. Pooh and Piglet corner him, and in the bleakest cartoon since Salad Fingers, we see what happened to poor old Christopher Robin. Pooh and Piglet show him the cannibalized corpse of Eeyore. Maria and her girlfriends just wanted to head out to the 100-acre woods to get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday city life. Everything up to this point was just the prologue to Pooh's vendetta against humanity. Dozens of people have gone missing in the 100-acre woods recently. Mutilated bodies are piling up, and tabloids are reporting sightings of Pooh's crew on the daily. Cut to Maria, a college student with the worst luck in the world. She's been struggling recently in her life after narrowly surviving a stalker attack a few months ago. Her therapist suggests a holiday away somewhere safe, isolated and quiet, where she can clear her head. No matter what she does or where she goes, she's still reliving the fear. In crowds, walking alone, noises jack up her heart rate, and phantom sightings out of the corner of her eye leave her paranoid. Apparently, the stalker was never caught. Pals head out to the open road. 100-acre wood has had a haircut. Maria stops for a refill. Sure, the pumps don't work and the windows are broken and covered in weird magazine clippings.
I don't think there's anyone here.
Maria and her crew of city girls, Jessica, Alice, Zoe, and Laura, arrive at their gothic Airbnb. They waste no time making themselves at home. Jessica forces everyone to fork over their phones so they can disconnect for the weekend. There's a sixth friend, Tina, that couldn't wake up in time to jump into a car built for 5 people.
Can you call me as soon as you get this? Because I have no clue where I'm going.
She abandoned your working car on a road with perfectly fine cell reception to wander into the woods, where the blood bear's waiting for her. She drops her phone and then does her best. She slides under a broken garage door and hides behind a wood chipper, silently slips past the broken garage door, sneaks up on Tina, and bludgeons her repeatedly before feeding her headfirst into the wood chipper. Back at the Airbnb, Laura steals her phone back, and Maria forces her friends into a group session to tell us more about her stalker situation. She says she could spidey sense him in her life, watching from the shadows, until one night he broke into her house and assaulted her. Despite catching him and calling the cops, he was never caught. Piglet cycles to jumpstart the generator. Christopher Robin is still alive. Christopher begs Pooh to stop and apologizes for abandoning him. The big guy's almost bowled over with golden flashbacks of Christopher as a cherubic child. A honey-thick tear streaks for his eye. For a moment, it seems like he might just let Christopher go. Pooh uses Eeyore's tail to lash Christopher's back to pieces. He props up Mary's cannibalized skeleton to watch and pipes her blood through a showerhead over Christopher. Pooh is busy dragging Mary's corpse around the woods like a rag doll, as you do, when he hears Laura's house music. A totally spontaneous selfie session is taking place in the jacuzzi, but it's only when Laura goes to review her photos that she sees him behind her. Laura calls out into the darkness, accusing whatever she saw of being Maria's stalker. After a quick holler and making sure to turn on the atmospheric strobe light, she dips back into the tub with her back to where the stalker was and closes her eye. Pooh and Piglet ambush her. Laura wakes in the driveway, bound and gagged. Somehow, Pooh and Piglet apparated Maria's car keys into their possession. Pooh drives forward and crushes Laura's head with the tire.
Maria and Jessica are sitting by the pond when they hear Laura scream in the distance and run to investigate. They get to the driveway and notice the strange car, and Maria immediately gets suspicious that something is wrong. She has no idea just how bad things really are though, until they go to the other side of the car and discover Laura's bloody body under a front tire. The girls run inside screaming and find Alice and Zoe standing in front of a window where the words "Get out" have been crudely written in blood. They tell the other girls that Laura is dead and that there's someone else outside. Since the front door was open, the girls think that the killer could be inside already, but Zoe notices that the message on the window was written from outside and says that they should stick together and find weapons to protect themselves. Maria agrees and adds that they also need to call the police when suddenly they hear the sound of glass shattering. They peek around the corner and see Pooh standing outside surrounded by a swarm of bees. Pooh peers through the window, and just then all of the lights in the house go out. Alice and Zoe run to the kitchen to get a weapon, and Maria begins to have a mental breakdown, thinking that Pooh is her stalker returning to finish the job. The other two girls come back, and Zoe reassures Maria that whatever is out there, it's not her stalker. Alice remembers that Laura went out the back door to go to the pool, and she and Zoe take off again to make sure that that door is closed. Just then, Maria remembers that she has a gun upstairs, and she and Jessica run to go get it. They rummage through the dresser and finally find the massive revolver buried under some clothes. The girls go back to the stairs and see Pooh roaming around in the living room below before disappearing out of sight. Alice and Zoe sneak out to the pool and try to quietly close the back door. Just as they reach the door, they hear a noise from behind them and realize that the killer must be in the house. Suddenly, Piglet bursts out from the shadows wielding a sledgehammer and knocks Alice to the ground. Zoe screams and falls into the pool, and Piglet turns his attention towards her girlfriend,
as if to finish her off, while Zoe delivers commentary from the water. Just watch as the hill piggy caves your girlfriend's head in with a mallet. Alice just gives up and lays down. He'll take you to a secondary location. Maria and Jessica arrive just in time to see Pooh carrying Alice's unconscious body into the woods. They follow the abominations back to their fort, but hesitate to shoot in case they might hurt Alice. The other girls have off to who knows where, giving Pooh ample time to slap the out of Alice as we fade to black. When we return, Maria and Jess have materialized from nowhere to free Alice, while the other unties Alice. They're halfway to the tree tunnel when a screech rings out through the camp. It stops them cold in their tracks. Maria makes the split-second decision that they can't leave someone else to suffer if they're trapped here.
What are you doing?
I'll be back in a minute, okay? We need to leave now.
Maria very slowly tiptoes up to Christopher Robin's body where it's hanging from a rafter. Right as they cut him down, another woman calls out for help. Chris tells them he can fend for himself, so the girls run off to save the next distraction. Nearby, they find a woman battered and chained, her neck in a noose. She begs for help.
What have he done to you?
They finally unshackle her from chain. A few seconds later, she catches a glimpse of herself in a mirror and begins to scream. She grabs Maria's gun, threatening revenge. She calls out to Piglet without checking the gun first, firing wildly for no particular reason before Piglet appears wrapped in chains and screeches at her.
I'm gonna make you pay.
She backs up right into Pooh. Then Piglet comes around and crushes her neck with his favorite toy. Pooh gives chase. Maria and Jess run away, but Alice is too slow, so she hides, finding Piglet's mallet sitting within reach. When Piglet comes too close, Alice lands a solid blow to his face, knocking him out of frame. The tunnel is lit by torch fire. Maria uses it to keep Pooh at bay for about 4 seconds. While the girls run blindly through the darkened forest, Alice is embracing her inner Piglet back at the camp. With Piglet tied up in his own chains, Alice taunts him that he's not going anywhere. Then she gives him 3 hard whacks with the mallet, finishing him off with an overhead slam.
Alice stands over Piglet's dead body, but hears Pooh sprinting towards her and turns around just as he grabs her by the throat, lifting her up into the air and stabbing her through the mouth with a machete.
Maria and Jess stumble upon the scene and scream, once again drawing Pooh's attention back to his murderous hunt further ahead. They find a road and flag down a passing truck. 4 drunk guys tumble out, mistaking the girls for drugged up lunatics when they start rambling about being chased by Winnie-the-Pooh. Suddenly, one guy notices something yellow standing in the road ahead of them. It's the Pooh. The girls jump in the truck while the guys gear up for a West Side Story street fight.
Time to open up a can of whoop-ass.
The men land blow after blow. Pooh takes them all like a champ until the last of the men shatters a bottle over his head. Bottle guy rushes for the truck, exposing his mangled flesh to Maria and Jess. Pooh takes off the second guy's hand with a single swipe, then pops his head like a pimple. Another pimp slap slices the ringleader's neck clean through. The last guy flees, but Pooh's air force of killer bees is on him before he reaches the corner. With that settled, Pooh lumbers towards the truck. Maria risks the truck stalling or high centering and speeds headlong into and over Pooh. Only a few seconds later, Pooh appears on the bumper. He climbs into the truck bed and onto the truck. Finally, Maria thinks to slam on the brakes, but somehow, despite not hitting a thing, Maria's maneuver ends with her slamming her head into the wheel and Pooh coherent enough to yank Jess from the truck and decapitate her while Maria is still disoriented. Pooh hauls her from the truck and prepares to land the killing blow.
Christopher comes flying up in another vehicle and hits him, pinning Pooh between the 2 cars. Christopher catches his breath and climbs out, walking over to see if Maria is okay. He starts to help her up.
Pooh takes hold of Maria again, and Christopher Robin makes a final plea for Maria's life. He begs Pooh to take him instead and let her live.
But Pooh finally speaks, simply saying, "You left," before slitting Maria's throat. She falls into Christopher's arms, choking on her own blood, and tells him to go while he still has a chance. Christopher stands up and runs off into the darkness.